Hey, good evening, everyone. Paul here with GammaEdge. I wanted to walk through what happened today using the GammaEdge VOLD command. This is a volume differential command. It allows us to look at snapshots that you can see here on the right-hand side of the picture in 15-minute increments. And throughout the day, it helps you visualize when we talk about targeting where the market is paying attention. Now, these could be opening or closing, and frankly, we don't care because we've seen that if the attention magnifying glass is put on a specific strike, it has implications as we go forward. So let's just start this. So starting this morning with the opening bell and taking a look at what we have here, 43.50 was indicated as a pretty popular strike, and you can see that at the magnitude 2,500 contracts and 1,500 contracts on the put side. So calls on the north and puts on the south. So when we add the next strike in here, you can see what happens. This is the 9:45 slice. This is Eastern time, and you can see that already right out of the gates this morning we had targeting both at the 43.50s as well as the 43.60s. So there was already an emergence, over 6,000 contracts combined by 9:45 of what we're seeing there. And you can see on the put side, 43.20 was emerging with some downside attention also over here. When we add the 10 o'clock, you can see it just continues to grow. Over 10,000 contracts, still targeting that 43.60 as well as the 43.50. This is important too because we had a slight pullback that was occurring just after 10 o'clock Eastern time, and that could have given some power to these downsides. So let's just watch what's happening here, remembering, of course, that we're over 10,000 contracts here and not hitting 10,000 contracts on the put side. So at the 10:15, you can see now we're pushing 15,000 contracts, still again at the 43.50 and the 43.60 strikes, and we're still not pushing the minus 15,000 over here on the put side, but we do have a buildup that's occurring at 43.40, 43.30, and 43.20, which absolutely is where the JPM strike is. So we're watching kind of both sides of the market develop here, and you can see where the range is probably developing for the day, at least from the viewpoint of 9:15 in the morning. When we add the 10:30 in here, again, still building on the 43.50s as well as the 43.60s, and adding in the appropriate amounts down here on the put side. Again, adding, no changes, just more magnitude, of course. People are targeting those strikes. We get to 11 o'clock. You can see we're well north of 20,000 contracts and two major spikes here. We've got one north or south of 20,000 contracts here, showing here at 43.30. But you can see that in net, we're starting to lean towards the call side of the equation. And if we're opening calls, the dealer response typically, if these are being opened, and we have every feeling there, these aren't just continuously closing contracts. This will be, put pressure on the dealers as they are short those calls, and they will have to hedge by buying the correlated asset or futures in this particular case. So here we are, 43.50, 43.60, still pushing north here, pushing upwards towards 25,000, 30,000 in that particular context. And here by the euro close, you can see that we've broken north of the 30,000 strike at both the 43.50 and the 43.60, and barely hitting that here on the 43.30s. Now, as we go up to the into the lunch hour, the 11:45s, you can see we're starting to see an emergence now of 43.60, and I'm just going to go ahead and walk through these. It's pretty straightforward to see what's happening here. You know, we're north of 40,000 contracts at 43.60. You can see we're building this 43.60, so clearly we're starting to put our attention here, and by 12:30 Eastern time, we're really starting to focus north of 45,000 contracts, not hitting that on the put side. So the market is really shifting after the euro close, and we're really starting to push north. And you can see now with this aggregation of the addition of the purple colors, we're now starting to see a build out of the 65s, the 70s, the 75s, etc., all the way on down. and we're not seeing the balance, right? We're starting to see a real growth here. And you can isolate these, by the way, in just by single clicking on the square, and it'll go ahead and add everything or remove everything except that square. We're going to keep just walking through these so you can see how things were developing. Again, this line is the 4360s, and we keep moving this upwards, adding these as we go through the into the afternoon session. And you can see the development that's occurring here, especially now with the addition of the 145 or 1345. This is the afternoon session Eastern time, and you can see a real line developing here and dividing. This little cliff that we see here is a characteristic signature that we witness all the time, and it does give us a sense of the near-term high side movement that we're starting to see. It doesn't mean that these don't have a contribution, but certainly these, with the volume and the targeting that's going on there, are certainly playing into this. As we push north here, there's the 1400, which is the 2 o'clock. You can see just a huge mass here is over 40,000 contracts, and we're just barely breaking that to the put side. So still very much intact here, and pushing north, 215, 230, 245, and you can see what's happening here. We're really building out now and starting to really target all the way up to here's 4380, right? So here we had the 4360, 65, 70, 75, 80, and now we've got just a large amount of just call dominance that's been developing all afternoon, and you can watch how this is going to develop. And if you look at these slices with respect to price, you'll get a sense of what the market was doing at that time, and it was just literally grinding up, and you can see why, right? We had a continuation of just pounding higher and higher strikes, whether they're being opened or closed, and profit taking is irrelevant. The net of this, if the market is going up, we believe, is simply that calls are being opened in net, and that's driving dealers to have to hedge by buying. You can see to the downside, we're not anywhere near the volume as we are here above the 40,000 level, and that's why calls really ruled the roost today. And we're pushing us north. And again, now looking at 1515, which is 315 Eastern time, you can see now we've broken the 60,000, and there's some fairly substantial levels that are being added here. Now, there's also substantial levels that are being added here in preparation, we think, of the potential of moving down. So as we get into the last hour or so, theta begins to collapse. This is the 0 DTE, and it would not be unreasonable to think of that, the potential for us to move down. But just realize we do have this development of this 4380. It is a very, very strong line, and effectively it's a pinning line for today. We talked about pinning on the open mic on Sunday night. And so here we go, north of 60,000. You can see we're still developing out on this 4380, and then in the last two slices of the day, just adding this for completeness here, you can see where we are. So there are obviously some folks here who were in and out. They had to close the contracts that they were thinking, and that would add to the volume of those specific slices. Again, this is not a review to know what was sticky, what was opened and closed. This is to get a sense of where the market is targeting, and we feel that the VOLD command helps not only tell us where are they targeting, which we can also get with what we call the VOLU, but the VOLD gives us that differential on the 15-minute slices. So we hope this is useful for you. We like this tool. We like the visualization of the tool, and certainly we think it can help influence what the upper boundaries or lower boundaries can be on any one given day, especially on a trending day. If you like this information, just come on into GammaEdge.us, and you can kick the tires for 14 days free. No risk to you. Go to GammaEdge.us. Upper right-hand corner is a pricing tab. Click on that. Fill out the blanks. Come on in. Lots of great traders, lots of great educators, and happy to teach you what we're seeing. So with that, bid you farewell. Thanks, everyone.